Were I to jump, or to fall, or were I pushed to my death from a high window of an apartment block, or from a cliff top even, then at the end of that fall, the ground will act like a sieve, keeping my flesh and bones to itself, as well as my clothing and any other belongings I may have about me, such as my keys, coins, and wristwatch. While my soul, which I am riddled with, will continue its downward journey, perhaps for a metre or so, depending on the height of the preceding drop. And relieved of its hot nest, it will wear on its face the most abject expression, not that of the exposed oyster as it sucked, sobbing from its shell, but rather that which the fledgling wears underneath its feathers when it takes its first flapping plunge into maturity. Okay, I've got a few poems. Most of these kind of allude to death, and they're all kind of a bit depressing, degrees of depressingness. This one is called, it's a kind of cautionary tale poem. Yes, I admit that I have ate that once cool and heavy egg that would one day have hatched a clever goose of gold. I cooked it in a pan until it smelted from a hard into a runny yolk, and then I promptly drank the molten yellow. I gulped it down, felt it start to burn away my tongue and gums and teeth, whose residue then blew away as smoke. I felt it coursing down my roasting throat, through the squiggle of my blistered viscera, all the way beyond my screaming shitter, from which it oozed and swarmed and spread wet metal excrement about my seared balls and buttocks until it slowly made to thicken. And sometime afterwards, when I died of pain, I ate away my flesh and bone. I sank my corpse in acid till no bit of it remained, but just this shiny winding cast, this meandered single golden sprue which rises from its stand and displayed like this so well describes a fool. I don't know this one, so I'm going to have to read it. It's a recentish poem about the dead. The dead are helpless. You can do exactly what you like to the dead. You can call them filthy names. You can poke your uncovered arse at them. You can stick them in the eye or spit on them. Or better, you could prop one up before you shove its face backwards, your palm driven hard against the nose, and still nothing bad will happen to you. You can drag the dead outside into the street, and you can piss upon them. You could beat one even further into death with a brick, and no one can point a finger at you. And if they do, you could tell them to fuck off and mock their squeamishness by blubbing like a baby in mimicry of the feebly sensitive. It occurs to me just now that you might also want to stand a stiff in a doorway, have it held in place by means of ropes, and then, with all your extant vehemence, slam the door against it, hear it greet the dead's unwincing face just before it bangs against the jamb. You can always confound the dead. You can act as though you're going this way, and then you can go that way and punch them, and they'll just stare up at the ceiling with that emptied look of theirs, emptied as an egg is from its shell. And the dead have nothing at all to use against you but your horror of their passivity, which looks so sometimes so like the unresisting sweetness of your own poor martyred soul. Look at our faces. Oh, how dead we're going to be. It's the abundance of specificity that leaves me so dying. I go hotfoot through the miserable woods that are haunted by me, and here are the trees, each of whose leaves suggest its particular green. I walk across a field that's been spattered with fragments of cow shit, every bit of which is specific. I go to work, I go home, I go to work. Here are bones, buttons. Here are wild dogs, biscuits, French horns, imps, borlotti beans. Here's a submarine, a brick, a rosehip. Here are the piping bodies of girls and boys, once popped like perfect peas from puberty's cramped pupa. Basted, they gleam head to toe with poem juice. And here are all the world's small stones, arranged in order of roughness, the smoothest on the right. It's hard work pulling the ghost out of a man. It clings like a child will cling to its favourite toy. It stamps and pleads and rages and cries and bites and in desperation even laughs. It grips the inside of a man's face, and as you prise one hand of fingers free, it strengthens its grip with the other. And as you yank and yank it by the ankles, it will clutch at collarbone and then each rib in turn as it comes gradually down the ladder, its swearing turning quieter as it begins to tire and turns its white-coloured stare on your own ghost, who's turned away inside you, apparently engaged in some private matter. Two more, I think. Poor Derek, whose lukewarm brain in my hot hand I hold. What thought did flick across this soft, wet stone? Did flare like an electric net of gold? Did cling like a butcher's bag to this throne of man? What filth, what porn was conjured here? Was collage from cut pieces of the world, from stolen ghosts of girls, made to appear in skin flicks, played on silver screens unfurled like strips of cartilage within this nut of thinking meat. What dirty dreams were dreamt when Derek slept, his flicking eyelids shut, a shell against the soft, sweet pillow lent, and in the shell this brothel lying thus. See it, as though he dreams again for us. And, last poem. All my poems are advertisements for me. When we were young, there was nothing exactly stupid about the world. In fact, in the good old days, there was the thump and the tug of it. The way it heaved itself like a stone, yanked, so to speak, in glory. The way it fell up, and then crushed up again, getting newer and newer, louder and sweeter. The way it watched its own face fall between its fingers as though its face were a handful of gold coins. I think I might have known the whole drag of everything going upwards. Actually, I know I did. You were part of all this, by the way. And the sky, well, where to begin? The sky was so adult, not imbecilic or thin or so-so or girlish. Did I outgrow it? Did I drink it, shoot it, find a way round it? Did I get inside it and drive off in it? Forgive me. But on my way to work this morning, even though the sun was on fire and the trees were up, I was in the apocalypse. Death is not what you think it is. It's actually what I think it is. Thank you.